Peace. How is everybody? This is not adjusting, or is it? No, it's not. It's really not. Okay, that's cool. I am late and dressed like this because I don't know how to manage my life. So thank you all for being here. No, that's literally true. I am about 105 days sober today. Yeah. Right? And so normally when I was late and dressed like a bum, I could blame it on alcohol, and now I just have no excuses anymore. You know what I mean? It's been interesting. I've been married going on 15 years, and I started drinking in 2004, and I got married in 2004 because she get on my damn nerves. But she puts up with me. So it's an interesting whole sort of dynamic. And this year has been like a very big sort of transformational year for like me and my family. We like took some time apart and like are now trying to like put that time like back together. Like this summer, I felt like we couldn't make it work, and I was still drinking. It was back in May, and I was like, you know what? I think we need to, you know, separate for a while, right? And then I like moved out. And normally when you watch Netflix, right, and the people move out, it's very much like, I'm going to the cottage, and you and the children can stay here. But you know, when you broke, and you from Harvey, Illinois, it's like, y'all can stay here, and I think I'm gonna be on the red line for a little bit. So I was homeless for a while and donating plasma. It's what historians like to refer to as rock bottom. You know what I mean? So at that point, it was like, yeah, I think you might be the problem. You might want to look into this and do something about it. And I found myself in this really sort of like strange sort of position because like, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody in here, but I feel like growing up, it was always this fear that something would happen at some point, no matter what you do, where you're going to be at risk of like not being connected to your children. Like really quick, how many fathers do we have in the place? Make some noise if you're a dad. That's what's up. Okay, see, normally I ask that question and it's very hesitant, like they waiting on test results. You know what I mean? So I was happy for the immediate claps. But society is very weird towards like dads. Like I know me when I'm out with my children, and I don't have my wife with me, or I don't have like my mother or my mother-in-law, I don't have a woman, it's just me and some kids, people will say very strange things. Like people come up to you like, oh, Dad, you're out with your girls. You're babysitting? Dad's babysitting? And it's like, babysitting? I made these people. I think we call it raising them, I think is what we say. The iPad babysits them. It's very different. It's a different situation. But I begin to think, after some years doing this, right? My oldest is 8, just had a newborn, 13 days ago. Thank you. I didn't do nothing. Don't clap for me. I can't. I'll tell her you clapped. I'm a part of it, but I'm a very small part. It's a very Simon and Garfunkel sort of relationship that we have. I'm not an equal partner, is my point. But like, I'm beginning to think that society is grading me on like a stereotypical black man curve. You know what I mean? Like black fathers, how many black fathers we got in the place? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like people are a little too surprised to see you raising your own biological children. I'm slightly offended by this whole thing. I get praised for the most basic parenting functions. People will see me pushing my daughter on the swing at the park. They come up to me, moved to tears. Just touched deep in their soul, you know? Like they seen the ghost of Martin Luther King Jr. It's just like, oh, that is beautiful. It really is. There should be more like you. Chadwick Boseman should play you in a movie, sir. You a hero. It's too much, way too much. But that's how it is just in general. I remember when my first daughter was being born, my wife was in grad school at the time, right? So I'm bragging to everybody. I'm like, my wife is pregnant, but she still has a full caseload. She's doing all this stuff. And then people at work, at the time I was working at a call center, which I like to refer to as a phone plantation. I don't know, it's very much a phone plantation. I don't know if you've ever been. It's a field of people doing menial work. It's a manager walking up and down the aisles trying to make sure none of us are reading. You know what I'm talking about. Very plantation-esque. And so I was just like, yeah, my wife is pregnant. It's great. And my coworker was just like, but Mark, when your wife has the baby, like who's gonna stay home with the baby while she goes to school? And I was like, oh, well, I've saved up and I'm gonna take some leave and I'm gonna stay at home with the baby. And she just looked so confused. Like I told her I could grow my own uterus. Like she was just stunned. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna carry the baby around in a placenta that I made myself. Very masculine placenta. I fashioned it out of gym bags and video game cords. It's a man-center. It's just weird, just the weirdest sort of things like that. My kids were actually born, my first two kids, my oldest two, they were actually born in Canada. Went up there because it was free. And very different culture up there, very different for them. We moved back to Chicago in 2016, just in time for the disaster in the White House, right? And it was crazy. We was on the playground. I had my two kids with me on the playground, and my oldest comes running up to me just distraught. She's in tears. She's like, Daddy, we have to move. We have to move from here. And I'm just like, baby, what's wrong? Why do we have to move? And she was like, that girl said that if we stay here, you're going to get shot, that people get shot here, and you're going to get shot. And I was just like, oh, my God. That was such a devastating thing for me to hear because, you used to hearing about these sort of things when you grow up here. My kids are Canadian, so they was just distraught with the whole thing. And I was just like, oh, my God, baby. We live on the north side. It's no guns up here. You don't have to worry about it. It's just registered sex offenders, okay? That white van is not an ice cream truck. Stay with me. But it's crazy. I go back home to I'll go back out south, visit my family members and stuff. And it's wild to go into a hole in the wall place for a hot dog or a Polish or something like that and see the people working behind the 3 inches of bulletproof glass. I totally forgot what that was like. Then you got to stick your money in that bulletproof Lazy Susan, and they spin that around, put your food in there, spin it back around. It's real unappetizing ordering an Italian beef sandwich from somebody who work in a panic room. I'm going to let you know that right now. I don't know how y'all do it. I feel like I'm visiting my food in jail the whole time. I'm just like, we going to get you out of there. Let me talk to my fries. But Canada is a whole different type of place. It's different. I remember the first time I was up there was actually a shooting. First week I was there was a shooting at the mall, right? Nationally televised situation. Right? My boy calls me on the phone. Like, hey, man, heard it was a shooting up there. Are you all right? I was like, bruh, are you calling me from Roseland about gun violence? That's like you get a call from Russia like, how are you treating your gay people? Is it fair? We want to make sure that it's fair. Very unsettling. Not that much gun violence at all. In Toronto, they had 30 gun deaths the whole time that I was, a year. They have 30 gun deaths a year. I remember I was watching the news. They had a stabbing spree. I felt so bad because I was just stabbing. Wow, that is great. Look at these people. They work with their hands. They are a God-fearing people. We have got to stay here. I was in St. John's, Newfoundland doing comedy, and this is how cool it is in St. John's, Newfoundland. While I was there, somebody robbed a gas station with a sword. If I'm working at the gas station and you come in to rob it with a sword, you can take whatever you want, bro. You know swordsmanship. I'm extremely impressed. I'm going to have you doing tricks look, if you can stab it, you can have it. He in there taking Flamin' Hots, taquitos. I'm taking selfies with him swordsmanship. Can you scratch a Z into the counter? It's impressive. I don't know. I'm a grown man. I never got into gun violence and none of that stuff at all, because you could tell by looking at me, I am a nerd, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very simple. Nobody ever shot up like the library. We was cool. You know what I mean? It was very, very basic stuff. I went where I was supposed to go, stayed there. Left there, went where I was supposed to go, stayed there. That is how survival worked at that particular time. If I ever met a gangster, it was never in a gangster setting. It was always like, oh, bro, you a Vice Lord? Oh. Well, thank you for coming to the poetry slam, my dude. I appreciate you being here. You be safe. So now, like, I don't get into it with dudes in the street. Like, I'm way 34 years old. I don't have beef with regular people. If I got a beef, it's with, like, T-Mobile. You know what I mean? Like, we could giggle about that, but if I see somebody from T-Mobile outside the show, I'm going to knock them upside the head with an empty car seat. It's real. I have a beef with, like, the manager of my condo building. Pull a drive-by on the management office. I'm just going to yell out my address like, bow, Unit 3E. Come fix my sink, damn it. Grown man situations, grown man problems completely. That's why I had to move out, because the space is way too small. We got a 2-bedroom condo. You can't argue in a 2-bedroom condo. Doesn't work at all. If you got a house, you could be mad in the living room. She could be mad in the bedroom. When you have a 2-bedroom condo, you just standing in the corner talking to yourself like a 6-year-old. Like, man, she get on my nerves. Every time I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. So typically me, I storm out. I like to storm out, go for walks, right? You mull it over, you be like, oh, you've been through a lot. You have 3 children, you know. Put this back together. You come back calm, you're ready to work it out. That's when you notice all of your clothes have been set on fire. You know what I mean? And you can't do that to me. I'm broke. That's not cool, right? Now I got to explain why I'm the only one who work at Starbucks wearing flip-flops, pajama pants, and a tuxedo jacket. Like, huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, there was a fire at my house. Oh, the house is good. It was a small fire. It was in the closet. My side of the closet. But that's what the focus is now, is like trying to like be safe and like raise my children up. I don't even understand how so much gun violence happens publicly anyway. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, if you got a beef with a person and you a sociopath, you like to settle your disagreements by murdering people, you know, don't be lazy. Google map directions to that person's house. With you out running errands with your pistol on, hoping you bump into your enemy somehow. You posted up in front of the Walmart like, nah, he got to come in here sometime. They having a sale on dehumidifiers. He still live in that basement. It's like, calm down. That's that. And then, you know what's crazy too is like, being afraid of like altercations with people in the streets and being worried about that. But then you also have to be worried about like altercations with the police. You can't call the police to settle a dispute. People say that all the time whenever I bring up like police brutality. They'll be like, oh, well, what about black on black crime? What about all of the black people? I'm like, I can't call nobody. Like, I have to be worried about everybody now. Like, I got to be worried about my neighbor and the police. Like, that's not working out. I'm way too broke to get murdered right now. That's not something that I can afford. If I'm dying right now, I'll be like, call People's Gas and tell them that we need an extension. You know. I have way too many bills that ain't paid yet. It's a busy time. It's a newborn baby, right? My middle child, she has a potluck at her daycare next week. I got to bring a fruit and veggie tray for that. There's a mouse loose in the building. The trash still hasn't been taken out. You understand? My wife will kill me if I get murdered. I'll never hear the end of that. She'll be at the morgue like, I knew you wasn't going to get that veggie tray. Now you making excuses, talking about, I'm dead. It's just interesting how things change when you have kids. The funniest thing to me is like my wife is very concerned even about like other people's children. And I don't do that. Like I'm concerned about my kids, but like other people's kids, it's so interesting. Like we was driving down the street one time and this little boy, he had to be like 7, like crawling on top of his garage, right, over his like concrete driveway. My wife freaks out, pulls the car over to the side of the road to yell at this stranger's baby. She's just like, you get down from there. You get down from there. You could hurt yourself. What would your mother say if she saw you up there? Get down from there. And I thought that was incredible, right? Because like as a father, I don't give a damn about other people's kids. I see other people's kids in danger all the time. As long as my kids are safe, it's fine. I drive right past that kid. Just like, he gonna die. Yep. Hey, Zora, sweetie, you see that kid climbing up there? That's why I didn't get you that ladder that you asked me for. Because he's going to fall to his death, baby. Like Mufasa, Daddy? Just like Mufasa, baby. That is exactly right. I have to be very, very cautious. The main thing that's deep about, like, these times, it's weird having, like, a full-blown, unqualified misogynist in the White House while you're trying to raise kids, especially little girls. Like, it's very disheartening to try to, like, encourage them about the country. It's like, yeah, well, I don't know what to say. I voted the right way, sweetie. I don't know what to do. I did my best. Like, it's a sad time. I think it's still weird, the things that people are still hung up on after all these years. Like, people are still tripping out about, like, women breastfeeding in public, which I think is a weird thing. I think it's very strange. Because, yeah, people are attracted to breasts. That's cool. It makes sense. You know what I mean? But, hey, relax. You know, it's not about sex. You know, you can get in trouble for feeding your children in front of a, like, Victoria's Secret store. It's a very weird culture that we have. Because they only, and let's keep it real, we only do that for, like, heterosexual men. Like, if heterosexual men are turned on, then we have to start policing things. Like, all right, cover up. The guys are getting aroused. Stop that, you know. We don't do that for anybody else, right? Like, there are women who find being a father a very attractive quality, right? But I have never been in the mall with my children and had the security guard come up to me like, sir, excuse me, sir. You are being very loving and patient and assertive right now, sir. Gonna have to ask you to put a blanket over yourself. This is everyone's mall. It's not something that happens at all. It's a very weird sort of a time just in general about how politics is and how I feel about all of these sorts of things. It made me think really differently about like the music that I listen to, for sure. You know what I mean? Because growing up, I was like a big fan of like gangster rap. But you have to like cut back at a certain point. Especially because too many of my favorite rappers was like getting caught with rape charges. That's, you know what I mean? Like, you can't have a top 5 full of rapists. You have to cut down at a certain point. It's like, everybody acting like they just found out about R. Kelly. Ain't that just hilarious? I've been arguing with people about R. Kelly for years, especially because this is the wild thing, too. I'm in my mid-30s, right? So that means, like, R. Kelly, like, all the girls, I know fully grown women who were children who R. Kelly used to take out and stuff like that. Real talk. Like, I know, like, 15, when we was 15, 16, these are the girls that, like, R. Kelly used to prey on. We're now grown people with all of these, like, memories and these traumas and stuff like that. It's really, really weird that I've been arguing with people for this long about R. Kelly. They made him Grandmaster of the Bud Billiken Day Parade one day. That's how wild it is with R. Kelly. People act like they don't know. He called himself the Pied Piper of R&B. He wore a mask. Come on now. Like, put these things together after a certain point. It's just crazy. Like, people will argue with me and they'll still try to, like, blame the kid in the situation. I get into arguments every time I go get my hair cut. Like, oh, come on. Well, a 15-year-old girl should know better than to get peed on. If you're 15 years old, you should know better than to get peed on. And I'm just like, that makes no sense. Of course, a teenager wants to get peed on by an R&B superstar. That's how teenagers think. When I was 15, if Janet Jackson wanted to pee on me, come on, bro. If Janet Jackson wanted to pee on me, today. I would probably just be like, we should tape this, I think. Let this circulate a little bit. But that's how it was. That's how it was growing up in my neighborhood in particular. I'm from Harvey, Illinois. I'm from like 147th and Levitt, right? And they treat, as soon as you started thinking about having sex, you was fast, especially if you was a girl. Now you fast. Now everybody treats you like you're an adult all of a sudden. Like you're not supposed to have these feelings or these desires at this particular time. I remember I went to see that movie American Pie. It blew my mind because there's all these teenage white kids and they're all having sex or trying to have sex or curious about sex, and they still get to be kids. They still get to be kids. We was all treated like adults the second that we started even talking about sex or dealing with sex. That's why I've always been so like, sex is a big deal for me. I was celibate in high school because it was like very high stakes. You know what I mean? Am I going to be able to be with my kids? Am I going to have like a stable household? That was my whole thing growing up. Just like people always told me, they would be like, yo, boy, you look like your granddad, like my mother's father. But I don't know, because I only seen this dude like 4 times my whole life, including his funeral. And that's because he went around the country setting up franchise families. You know what I mean? Like you could track the great migration of black people by where this dude was ejaculating at. It was just like, Skeet, Mississippi, Skeet, Tennessee, Skeet, Chicago, Skeet, Southern California. So I was like, nah, I want to keep all of that like in-house. Like most of the girls I knew that I was like attracted to or that I liked, at some point while we was in high school, got pregnant, right? I remember the first girl I ever fell in love with was pregnant, right? I told her I was in love with her. She told me she was pregnant, same phone conversation. There was some distance in between that. We didn't just talk. I wasn't like, I love you, I'm pregnant. It didn't go like that. We might have talked about like Jagged Edge or something like that in between. I don't remember what it was. But like, I remember when I first found out, and I had a crush on this girl. I remember this girl, Ebony, and she had a kid. And that just blew my mind. Like we took like AP history together, right? And one day she was just like gone. She was just like absent. And she was absent again. And she was absent again. And she was absent again. And she came back to school. I'm like, dang, what happened? Where you been, right? And she's like, oh, I have a daughter. And I'm like, what you mean you have a daughter? Like, we can't keep flirting. You have a daughter. I have an X-Men t-shirt on right now. I'm not prepared for this. But she had one of them big giant keychains with the baby picture. And I'm like, how did I miss that? I can't be a dad. I'm not observant at all. And what's wild, right? She had a baby. It was by her ex-boyfriend. I knew this dude. We took PE together. People complained that he wasn't doing enough for his kid at 15 years old, but he was a way better co-parent at 15 than I am at 34. I'll tell you that right now. I'm bad at it. I'm always late. I once poured out a gallon of milk out of spite. Like, who she thinks she talking to? Talking about, I don't contribute to the household. These Rice Krispies gonna be dry tomorrow. I know that much. So can you imagine if we had homeroom together? That would have been she had had spitballs at the back of her head every day just to show that I care, you know? But that's the thing. Teenage pregnancy was a very huge thing. Movies never got it right. I remember I saw that movie Juno with Ellen Page. Have you ever seen this movie? Funny movie. Not how teenage pregnancy works at all. I'll give you a rundown of how this goes, right? Movie starts out, this girl, Ellen Page, she's on her bike, right? She's like, oh, I'm going to see my boyfriend, Paulie Bleecker. It's going to be so boss. It's such a great time. 15 years old. Goes over her boyfriend's house, has sex with him, gets pregnant, right? He doesn't even have to, like, tell his mother or, like, drop out of school and get a job. Nobody calls him trifling, nothing like that. He barely knows, right, through the whole movie. Then a rich white lady comes in, agrees to adopt the baby and pay all of her medical bills, right? She gives birth, the lady takes the baby, and at the end of the movie, she's right back on the bike. Like, yep, that was a crazy sophomore year of high school. Oh, man. Good thing I still have my innocence and my white privilege. I wanted to push her off that bike. It was not like that at all. It was like a movie, but it was more like Final Destination. A girl, I have a vision like, oh my God, if we don't get out of this high school, we all gonna get pregnant. Then just one by one, just poof, 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 poof. So I was celibate in high school, period. I was like not having sex, not doing any of that at all. And all my celibate friends always had like weird rules. Like if you grew up with like church kids, there was always like ways that people tried to get around, not having sex. People had make-out parties and they would go and make out. Like, oh, we make out. I'm like, you make out with each other? You go and you sit in the dark and kiss and grind on each other and then you get up and go home afterwards? That sounds like a competition to see how blue you can make your own balls. That's terrible. Who came up with that? Completely celibate. I treated my penis like I was a religious single mother, and it was my only son. I would just be like, nope, you are not going to be a stumbling block in this community. No, you are not. You are going to stay in here with me. You are a blessed and highly favored member. I only beat you because I love you. So now we're back. We're trying to pull it back together. I'm trying to make those changes. Like I say, I'm trying to like stop listening to certain songs and stop doing certain things. You know what I mean? It's a completely different sort of energy in my like household. I don't even say the N-word anymore, which was a big deal for me. Like as a comedian, you say it all the time, and I was like, no, I don't really want my kids to like grow up in a household where they hear this word all the time. And it's a real sad day when you almost call one of your kids the N-word. It's a tragedy. You never do it out loud. It's always under your breath, like, one of these niggas going to sleep. I was like, yeah. So now we try to keep everything as clean and as like PC as we possibly can. You know what I mean? Because you can't, I'm looking for the right way to say this. It's hard to like censor what your kids watch. You know what I mean? Because television is weird, especially when it comes to like teaching you about your history and about yourself. It's way better now. I turn on the TV with my kids and I see like Dr. McStuffins and like all these different shows that have all these different like diverse people in them. It's like, it's really, really touching. I really enjoy it. You know what I mean? Even Dora the Explorer has a junkie on it, and I thought that was a little too much. They do. They have a junkie on that show. They don't call him a junkie like flat out. You know what I mean? It's just it's Swiper the Fox. But if you ever had a drug abuser in your family, it's a very similar situation. It's like, Uncle Carl, man, can you put down my Sega Genesis? Oh man, Dad. Every year with this. But it is way more diverse than it was when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid, the only time I got to see black people really on TV on like a regular basis was like Black History Month. And then they would be in like Black History Month commercials. You know what I mean? Black History Month promotions, which are always brought to you by the companies that are killing the most black people. It's so funny. It's always like, Coke 45 presents Black History Month. McDonald's, 365 days of Black history. McDonald's is killing more black people than the state of Florida, but they genocide. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. But Burger King has the best Black History Month commercials. They have my favorite Black History Month commercials because they feature the African voice. You know what I'm talking about. It's not from a specific country in Africa. It's not a particular dialect. It's just a vague, general, continental voice that we've all heard. It always has drums behind it, like doom, doom, doom. This Black History Month, come to Burger King, where you can get your civil rights extra value meal. That's right, you get your Martin Luther King size fry and your Malcolm extra large drink. Your ancestors couldn't have it their way, but you can at Burger King. I stopped messing with them. Except for when I need to get paid. As an actor, that's the only time you get to work. It's Black History Month. But now things are significantly better. Like there are much better like TV shows and stuff like that. So basically everything in our household is Disney. That's all I really allow myself to listen to. That's all I really allow my kids to listen to is like Disney stuff all the time. And I'm getting into it. Like I like old school Disney though. I'm not like a new Disney guy like whatsoever. Like I kind of liked Frozen, but that's only because it had sisters in it. The rest of it was just too much for me. This is the basic plot of Frozen, if you haven't seen it, right? It's these two girls, right? One of them has horrible taste in men. Absolutely terrible, right? Yeah, the dude that she fell for, that she's trying to get with this whole movie, right? He's rich and educated, but he's crazy and manipulative and trying to tear her family apart and hurt her and stuff like that, right? She ends up with this like blue collar, hard working guy, you know, who has like a weird sort of religious family, right? Then her sister is rich and powerful and glamorous, right? But she don't even got no man, you know. So it's very much like a Tyler Perry movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Very similar. The whole time I'm watching it like, that Elsa, she bougie. She gonna get HIV at the end, watch. Independent woman. But no, I like old school Disney stuff mostly. Like that's the stuff that I mainly listen to. Like the Jungle Book is still like the #1 soundtrack in my household, like hands down. Still love it. Every day listen to it. Look for the bare necessities, those simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife, right? Love that. Classic. Such a good song. Almost passed my daughter a joint the other day off that. Low key, this a real song though when you think about it. It's actually brilliant. And all jokes aside, it's really been a blessing. This year has been a blessing. This time has been a blessing. SIP is such a blessing, and it was so great to be here with all of you guys today. Thank you so much. I'm Mark James Heath.